Could have been dead on a Sunday morning. Ain't got no time. Where have all the cowboys gone? Huh? Yeah. All right, there it is. Wow. Hey, how are you? We're doing this a little bit earlier this week, but we are live, local, and late breaking here on the Brian Campbell Experience. The damn BCX, throw that X up in the air and actually wave it like you just don't care. Hey, it's me, right? Let's bang, Tui. This is the proprietor of this here channel. What up, Wonder Boy Thompson? This is Brian Campbell, your boy BC. This is Campbell's Rambles episode 22. Okay, the 22nd time they allowed me to speak mindlessly into a microphone, as you know, I want to say thousands or even hundreds, as select few of you have chosen to watch this live. Thank you very much. Yeah, Lazy Bed, we do a little pregame Paula Cole in these parts. All right, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm feeling today. Hey, it's February 26th of the 2025, if you're interested. And what a week we got going on. What a time to be alive. I just walked the dogs with my wife, and you know, it's good. I could feel spring pinching in the distance. I could feel it. Okay, it's coming. All right. So if you're coming on spring, that's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Okay, let's come on. As always, thank you for joining me here. Early start time because Reginald Jackson is in surgery as we speak. So I'll give you a full update in a couple minutes, but he should be finishing up just as I'm about to turn this thing off. So thank you for joining me early, if that's what you do, if that's what you did, right? And thank you for liking, subscribing. If that's what you're interested in, if you enjoy yourself here, we are live, we are live. Yep, Liv Tyler, thank you so much. Oh, hey, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what we're doing here. Programming notes here. All right. I hope you checked out yesterday when that salty mofo, Rafe Bugs, joined me for an inside the box breakdown of all things Saudi, Junto Nakatani Monday morning, and a look ahead, of course, to what we got going on this Saturday. And that's, of course, PBC on Prime pay-per-view, the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Gervonta Tank Davis, brother, against Lamont Roach Jr. That's what I'm talking about, okay? That's what I'm talking about, Project Zeb. Yeah, I mean, so we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Thank you very much, Project Zeb. He is very, he is, okay? Appreciate you, Mr. Sandine. You used to walk your dog lazy bed with your yo-yo, okay, all right, with your yayo there. But I support your support of Reginald Jackson. Thank you, David Sandine. Hey, Sandine, aren't you a producer of an MMA podcast? I did listen to a bit of it. I gotta get into it more. It's like Danger Mouse. It's that other guy. It's pretty good stuff. Okay, I gotta get a real taste. I caught a little, you know, a couple drops that fell, but I gotta get a real taste of this. Okay, shout out to you guys doing what you love. I'll keep doing what I love, talking into this microphone for as long as you'll let me. And yeah, Lazy Bed's a part of this too, right? Lazy Bed sounds like he's 12 years old. He's a great guy, real big fan of this guy. So Lazy Bed's an American, but we know Danger Mouse is from the UK, and maybe him and I are you know, maybe our feud's over. Maybe it's possible. I wanted that guy at our live show in London. I don't know what happened. I might have to join your podcast to talk about it. Okay, there we go. I just invited myself upon it. So I'm going to open like I always do, talking about a couple things going on in the world of combat sports and in the world of this chat, right? It's weird in here if you've never been in here. Okay, the water's warm. Come in. Sandine just peed in the corner of the pool. I mean, that's what we do here. But 2-drink minimum. Tip your bartenders. Smoke them if you got them. Rah, rah. I see Long Island Luca, the main card minute, is here. And yes, Lolo, talk about it, okay? Talk about it. Ain't nothing better for a washed middle-aged dad on a Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m. than the late afternoon coffee. Does it get any better than that? No, it doesn't. And to honor my dad, I just heated up the old ass coffee left over from this morning. That's how I get down. All right. That's how we do it here. All right. We're going to have a lot to get into. What's good with you? Luke Noseda, father of Australia. His father's from Australia. I don't know if we've ever discussed that. A couple other things to talk about. Morning Combat will be back, as you know, this Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern. I'll be doing it live and direct from Brooklyn. Luke Thomas from The Day Say. And then we will do an episode next Monday remotely recapping the weekend. Of course, don't forget it is UFC Fight Night, Apex, Manel Kopp against that Asu guy that Nosita's always talking about. Interesting stuff. Unfortunately, Raw Dog Roy Val not going to be in the cage on that night. And of course, Tank Davis, Lamont Roach, pretty damn good pay-per-view undercard, if I do say myself as well. 2 140-pound title bouts on that PBC event in Fair. And if you're wondering, yes, your boy's on the call. Mauro Ranallo, Abner Morris, BC, B Sizzle, Joe Goosen. You know what I'm talking about here, right? Brian Custer. I don't know who else is on the team. I'll find out when I get there. I think Dan Canobio too. I think he does the DraftKings stuff. Good stuff, Mr. Canobio. AG1. It's vitamins. It works. You know, at the end of the day, it works. All right. Another update to the this is the pre-ramble, right? This is the preamble for Campbell before he gets into the real, the real, we're tickling the bowl right now. If you know what I mean, some of you might, you might. All right. Yeah, there we go. No, I don't mix it Serenity now with the Tito's or the Cuervo. Speaking of, you guys know UFC 313 is right around the corner. A week from this Friday, not this Friday, but the next one. Pre-game previews back in your absolute face hole. We got Cuervo. We got the man in the damn hat, Chuck Mindenhall. We got LT. We got your boy BC. I think Tuki's going to be there too. It's going to be a wild show. So set your compasses correctly for this one. Okay. Yep. That's what we're talking about, Sandy. And it's AG1 time. All right. I got coffee. I got AG1. I got water with one of them hydrating flavor packets in there. So I got enough fluids. We'll do this until I wet myself, basically. But the other thing I wanted to mention here was that 2 interviews on the BCX. I just recorded them. Mikey should be getting them out to you in the next 24 hours or so. We are talking about, thank you. And also, Dune here street. I mean, Dune, Texas, baby, Texas forever, Chin. You know what I'm talking about right there. How about this? I just talked with Manel Kopp. He's going to be main eventing this Saturday. He's on the BCX and he don't give a F. All right. That's what's happening. I also chatted with how excited are you guys for Virgil Ortiz Jr.? We got any Boxeo fans out there? Your boy BC chatted with him just now. We went through this 154 division. I got his take on every title holder, every big name that might arrive. Good stuff here with young Virgil. So check that ish out. Okay. Serenity saying I've heard of an F Manel gives. Okay. There you go. He did not use the FA word. He did not use those words on the call. He had a daughter in his arms. It was a different Manel Kopp. It was a different, it wasn't the cop killer, right? So shout out. And yes, Virgil Ortiz can bang. Yes, he can. We talked about that too. So that's me setting the table for what's to come. I got a couple topics I'm going to talk about it around the top of the hour. I'm going to turn the floor over to you guys. Oh, and if there is an Alan W sighting, I don't know when he gets off work, right? But he's been on my, I thought Triple G was getting in that. I thought Alan was in that ass on me to watch that Netflix show. The Battered Bastards of Baseball. And the other night, deep in the 8th row. You got to pull me out of the cushion next to the coins and the old Cracker Jacks that's in there. I watched that ish. I'm going to talk about it today. Only if Alan W shows up. So anyone want to put the bat signal out to that mysterious gentleman? A lot of support, a lot of fun for that guy. Shout out to Mike Hawks Long in the building today, right? How long is that guy? He's only 2 inches from the floor. Okay, that's what I'm talking about, Mike Hawks Long. There you go. Also, AG1 is weed water for your Dune here. I mean, it's got that nice tropical floral smell. It's like smelling like a double IPA sometimes. You're like, Yeah, I like that smell. All right, all right, all right. Hey you, hey you. Okay, there you go. We're done rambling. We're done setting the stage and setting the table. It's time to eat. Here we go with today's ramble. Thank you for joining. Topic number 1. Hey, Dan Hooker's out of UFC 313, and I'm here to tell you guys the card's not that deep. It's going to be an interesting pregame preview. Might have to get down with some extra Cuervo because that card ain't in the modern era of watered down TKO. They're doing, by the way, did you see that press release today? They're doing a TKO takeover in Kansas City coming up. You're going to get a fight night, you're going to get Raw, and you're going to get PBR, baby, okay? Probably not too far away from a TKO takeover of wrestling, MMA, and boxing. It's coming. But UFC 313, let me call up that page. Pineda Ankalaev, March 8th, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas. Eesh. We gotta fix that co-main event. Supposed to be Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker is this the worst injury to a Hooker since the first Hangover movie? I mean, you gotta ask yourself that, right? He's out. Dan Hooker has a hand injury. He said he'd fight with it. You know, he's a warrior. He does crazy things like drink with Oscar Willis, and we all watch. But he posted a video with him and a young lady, and they broke the news. So we got to fill this hole, because when you look at the rest of this card, Pineda Ankalaev rules and is much needed. Tarantula versus Bahamon, let the rhythm take you over, is okay. Amanda Lemos versus Lucindo, King Green versus Hoofy, Curtis Blades Kuniev, Josh Van Saruya, okay. There's a few others on here that are real. I mean, there's like 7 fights on this card right now. This is a pay-per-view from Las Vegas. UFC programs the good stuff for Abu Dhabi. We know this. They programmed some good-ish for Seattle the other week. Vegas, they don't take care of anymore. They don't take care of their backyard, but that's not what I'm here to do. Complain about that. We got to fill the hole of Dan Hooker. So we'll talk about that. By the way, I don't think we have Mikey today, but he's always got my back. He's always in the building. So shout out to him. He's close to being done with an epic BCX intro. We got our song. We got our, it's good. I think next week we're unrolling it. We're unveiling it. It could change your life. It might be the best 90 seconds of your day when you watch it. Okay. But we'll see what's happening. We got to fill that hole. Something MHL knows a little bit, probably a little bit about, probably, you know what I mean? Probably. You can hit snooze all you want, will hurt, but we need a co-main event. So with Hooker out, the good news is anybody versus Justin Gaethje bangs. That's the good news, right? But this fight in particular first of all, it's a co-main event, so it's not just being booked as a possible fight of the night year contender that it was on paper. There was legitimate title considerations when you consider, right, that Gaethje's currently ranked number 3 at 155 pounds, Dan Hooker number 6. So here's the deal. There are fill-ins here that would rock and rule, but are probably highly unlikely. First and foremost, Ilia Topuria. Would I be upset that he made his lightweight debut not going directly to the title, which I think I saw a headline in the last 2 days that said he only wants to fight for the title and only will accept a fight for the title? I don't know if that's true, because I feel like the reporting on X these days is out of control in combat sports. It's either, it looks like a Helwani account, but it's fake, or there's a lot of people who just put out unprepared news. It's not going to be Topuria, and it's not going to be Poirier. I mean, unless they throw an absolute bag at him, and then we get another rematch of what I thought their first one was the greatest fight of this lightweight all-time great fight era. We're like going on a decade of these legends just round robining each other. If that was it, we'd all jump for joy. But Poirier has already exclaimed that he will exit kind of more on his own terms, which lately he's been saying July or August, Smoothie Center, New Orleans, main event, fight night, or pay-per-view, not sure yet. Unless he was offered a bag to fill in here and then had future plans to do a retirement fight, I don't think that's likely either. I did see Aaron Bronstetter put out a tweet with 4 names. And I got to tell you, here are the 4 names he put out. Mateusz Gamrot, Benil Dariush, Hainato Moicano, and Rafael Fiziev, which would be a rematch. Those gentlemen happen to, in particular, go ranked 8, 9, 10, and 11 currently at lightweight. Number 12 is Pimblett. He's Paddy Pimblett. He's got a big fight, right? Jalen Turner's already on this card at 13. You go further down into the rankings, you got Charles Oliveira at number 2. Would they run that fight? Probably not. Oliveira, it seems like he's got a little bit bigger fish to fry. Holloway at 5. Would they run that rematch from UFC 300? Probably not likely on this type of short turnaround. Michael Chandler at 7 has a fight against Paddy Pimblett. So that's what we're dealing with there. So of those 4 that Aaron Bronsteter put out there that would probably make the most sense, I'm not really feeling any of them, to be very fair. And it's not that it wouldn't be a great fight. Gaethje versus anybody is a great fight. Like, we already know that, okay? He showed a lot of veteran skills, by the way, in that Fiziev fight to win it. I don't need to see that again. Moicano, like, I would have been so down with it if he didn't just make a last minute appearance in the championship bout and kind of cash out the run he was on by getting handled so easily. So we're really coming down to one name, and We Are Live is putting it out in the world, and so is Mike Hawks Long. Can Arman step in? This is the name, and Mike Hawks Long is right. I don't know if Bronsteter's once again inaccurate. This is just the 4 names he put out there. I'm a big AB fan, okay? Representing Canada. That's one of my favorite Canadians all time, along with Mauro Ranallo and Mike Myers, maybe. The guys from the band. Yeah, whatever. All right. I mean, my people originate. Half of my people originate from there. All right. And Project Zeb, he's from there too. Okay. The answer here is Tsarukyan. So when Tsarukyan pulled out of his own title fight on such alarmingly late notice, and then we subbed in Moicano, there was at the time, if you recall, a little bit of conspiratorial feeling like, did the UFC pull a Khamzat Diaz all over again and remove Arman because they feel like Makhachev is leaving the division, so they want to retain Arman to fight Charles for the vacant belt? There was a lot of that talk going on. But with Topuria now in this division, and it would make a lot of sense for the UFC to invest in Topuria versus Makhachev, the 2 best fighters in this sport, before Makhachev inevitably moves up in weight. Is it possible that Islam doesn't want to fight Topuria and basically told them behind the scenes, you know, take my belt, I'm moving up, and then maybe we could get Ilya versus Arman for a vacant title? I mean, it's certainly possible, but I would feel the UFC right now would go out of their way to make one of the 2 or 3 best fights they could possibly make that's sitting in their lap. That's 1 versus 2 pound for pound and the 2 best fighters in the world. So it would feel to me that unless there's movement atop this division that we don't already know about, Tsarukyan's the name. Although Sandine just did pique my interest with the Nate Diaz mention. Like, not realistic. Do I love it? No. And I know Gaethje's still in a position where he's ranked high, and even though he's coming off that devastating knockout loss. I mean, what is Nate up to these days? But I also wouldn't hate that. None of us would. Okay. Yeah, Lazy Bed. That's a damn, you know, when I used to cover wrestling on the regular, you know, I'd wait on WWEshop.com for those really crappy t-shirts to inevitably show up at $2.99 on the way out. That's when you get all the designs they don't care about, or the short-lived pushes. You know, that's why I got the Vaudevillains t-shirt in my drawer over there. Okay. So when I saw Carmella's dance break for like $1.99 that time, or whatever it was, you know, okay. You know, I scooped that up. Okay. Mike Hawks Long might not be wrong here, okay? Although I think that's actually Nate Diaz's wife, and I think they have kids, and I think they've been together forever, but you're saying he's gone for 2 years minimum. We'll see, okay? And yeah, shout out to Carmella Soprano in her prime, but can we forget about Carmella and talk about Ziggler? Okay, can we? I mean, can we? Right? Will you? Right, there you go. All right, back to what we're talking about here. It's Tsarukyan, right? You could say this would produce an ex-title challenger because it'd be the number 1 versus the, what did I say Gaethje was right now? 3. I mean, that's a hella matchup. But would Saryukian be willing to turn it around so quickly without them paying a buttload of money for him? I don't know. That's where I think it's getting into the we're not really sure. Nocita is like, yo, I'm from Huntington, Long Island. It's where Chris Algieri used to fight at the local theater that he just saw Alice in Chains at Jerry Cantrell. And then he's like, oh, by the way, Matt Frivola's from my town and Carmela from The Sopranos. Okay, interesting stuff right there. Okay, there you go. We're not going to rate the hotness of deceased women, Lord of the Pies, but thank you, thank you, thank you just the same for playing. I don't disagree with what Street's saying here. Gaethje at 3 is criminal. I think the UFC ranking system is criminal. And I know Dana complains about it, and it's not necessarily like UFC brass doing it. They've got the select group of people picking it, and then you look at those names of the select group of people, and you're like, what are we doing here, right? Exactly. But, they love when somebody loses the title to leave them at number 1 for a while. I mean, Kamaru Usman is probably still ranked number 1 or 2 at welterweight. Hasn't fought in the division in 3 years. It's what the frick they do, okay? I don't like it either. But the problem is I don't think they're going to make that Saryukian fight on this quick of a turnaround. He just pulled out of a title shot. Is he then going to risk his position, even though Dana had said after he pulled out that no, he would not get the next title shot? He hasn't lost that, right? Since the last time he lost, right, to Gamrot, like he hasn't lost in a while. He's built up the foundation. Is he going to throw it away for a co-main appearance against Gaethje? I don't know. It would depend how many dollar signs they put on that, most likely. All right. But if it can't be Saryukian and it can't be insert creative name from retirement or a different division, Nate Diaz certainly filled that mold. It's got to be probably one of those 4 names mentioned, unless number 14, Grant Dawson, turns that around. But then you're like, in a co-main event of a pay-per-view, this is the problem we have right now. Except for, how about number 15, Benoit Saint-Denis? How about that, guys? Okay. Justin and Benoit, don't call him Chris. Please don't call him that. Please don't call him that. Okay. He is not the crippler. That'd be a hellacious fight, right? That'd be the kind of get well fight to BSD's brand that he needs coming off of the knockout loss to Dustin Poirier when he was very ill with staph, the Moicano loss when he got the injury early in that fight, and Moicano was advantageous in that position. Street saying, BC, drop your hardcore card. He's booked against Joel Alvarez. Yes, but that's not a co-main event of a pay-per-view. They got to fill a hole here with the co-main event of the pay-per-view. If it's Jalen Turner, I don't think it's sexy enough. I don't think it's big enough. Will they care? I don't know. Is that the type of main event that sells itself? It does. It's not a overwhelming commercial main event, of course, right, with Ankalaev on the B side, but this is the ultimate challenge, or so we might think, of Pereira's run at 205. So they might just say, F it. Having Gaethje in the co-main alone is fine. We're going to roll with it against anybody. Insert Gamrot, insert, I don't know. Don't say it, Sandine, versus Colby. Why the hell not? Because the fight would suck, because all Colby fights suck now. Okay, let's be fair. I kind of wish they could just plug in Chandler, although I really like the Patty fight and I think it's necessary and I don't want it. So of that 4, guys, what do we want? If it has to be one of Moicano, Fiziev, Dariush, and Turner. Yeah. Lazy Bed, what do you think? Lazy Bed supporting the chat. What's something missing from the MMA podcast world? Let me guess, Lazy Bed, your podcast. Okay, I think it's here. I don't think it's missing anymore, all right? I don't know, but thank you. Thank you very much. Hooker is tough to replace, says Project Zeb. I hope they try and plug in another striker, but that's harder. It is an interesting time with so many people tied up, coming off defeats. It's where we're at. I'm kind of with Hugo here. I'm not going to get moved by Dariush, even with me saying up front that Gaethje versus anybody is fun and matters. But this is a very important fight in Gaethje's arc. Does he deserve the number 3 rating after getting, sent to hell by Holloway? Probably not. No one wants to see a Holloway-Gaethje rematch on short notice. Guys, I don't know which direction they're going to go. I guess it could be Moicano, because you'd give him You'd almost be rewarding him for taking the title shot at last minute notice, even though he was already on the card and already training for the fight. But it would give him a redemptive opportunity based on that red hot run he was on and based on how easily Islam ultimately handled him, because Islam's the best fighter in the world. All right, I'm in on Moicano. The guys, it's not going to, we know it's probably not going to be Saryukin unless there's a giant bag involved. I'm in on Money Moicano versus Gaethje now. Okay, there it is. There it is. Okay. Mike Hawk's long nose. All right. All right. Daryl Horcher's probably, he's probably preparing for another PFL tournament. All right. To be fair, although, didn't Habib just absolutely destroy him that time? So at the end of the day, we use segment number 1 for me to talk in circles, but the answer here is going to have to be Gaethje Moicano. And given the other options, it's as sexy as we can get for right now, probably. Unless they want to call Eddie Alvarez. Him and Gaethje was badass. Absolutely badass. In fact, don't never forget that Eddie was the first guy that took prime cyborg Gaethje into the deepest waters and made him find out, okay? And made him tell us about it, Mike, and made him find out, okay? And even if Eddie loses, because he's old as crap at this point, it gives them an opportunity, should Paddy beat Chandler, to do Chandler versus Eddie 3, excuse me. But as Lazy Bed points out, I don't always have all the facts in front of me. Eddie just got his jaw broken. Did I forget about that? I guess I did. There we go. That's topic number 1. Okay. I don't think we can shelve Sandine Gaethje if Hooker isn't going to go out that and still do. I don't think you can shelf Gaethje. You need his star power. There's a co-main event of a pay-per-view. I mean, do I think that it's a Vegas one too? It's a T-Mobile Arena one. I mean, you could do the boxing way of life and just go, we're selling it on Poetan alone. But damn, the rest of this card sucks. There we go. All right. All right. Next topic number 2. You know what I love to say when I can't be owned, guys. You know what I love? My favorite thing about boxing is, the guts, the inspiration, the huevos that these men show out there. Okay. That's why when I can't be owned my Spanish heroes in person, my Spanish speaking heroes in person. And, the first thing I find somebody that can speak Spanish, say, tell him, thank you for having such big huevos. Thank you. And maybe that comment rings differently now when it's about $15 to get a dozen eggs. You know what I mean? You might have to do tricks for eggs these days. Okay. But what we saw in the press conference in England yesterday, that is meant to preview the April first appearance of Turki Al-Sheikh's Ring Magazine series, right? The second stop will be in New York, I think May 2nd. It's supposed to be the Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney doubleheader. At first, it was talking about Times Square. Now, I almost feel like Turkey's pulling away on that a little bit. There's obviously probably logistical issues. We'll see what happens on that. But the first card is Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. And they were going to fight 2 years ago, or 3 years ago at this point. And then, of course, Conor Benn popped for drugs. It was a long saga. The excuse was that, remember Canelo ate tainted beef. That was, and the excuse here became that, Sandine's been to that side of the tracks. You know what I mean? He knows what pay for play means. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. But I was really never too into this fight. They're in different weight classes. I understand why this would happen. Both can sell a fight. They're tough as shit. They talk a lot. And more importantly than that, their daddas were rivals. Okay. So it's not like I don't get it. And I always tell you about my pre-UK bias. You know what I'm saying? Where there are certain fights that are like UK centric fights that us in the US don't pop as much for. So I thought I wasn't going to be that into this fight. I thought I wasn't going to be that, I thought I wasn't going to care that much. They're kind of meeting in the middle, grudge match. You got the lingering huevos drug test thing. Well, yeah, then they faced off, and then it got weird in a way that only boxing can do. Lazy Betty is absolutely on fire right now in the chat. Okay, yes, both fighters, interesting enough, have paternity suits within the past week. You know, John Anik is the absolute best. See that video John Anik put on the IG of him and his daughters doing it was probably a great hashtag girl dad, just like the late Kobe Bryant. Okay. Helicopter is a great song, by the way, by M. Ward. If you want to check that out one day. Let's go to the videotape of what I'm now calling Huevo Skate. Are you ready for this? Okay. Are you ready for this? Let's egg it up. Let's ham it. Let's do it. Here we go. All right. You see Chris Eubank Jr. on the left, fought at 60-68. Conor Benn, son of Nigel, on the right in the pajamas. I'm sure Canelo approves. He's fought largely welterweight to 54. So we're going to meet in the middle. Watch the jacket of Chris Eubank Jr. on the left. He's got a bunch of levels in there.
Worldwide and Sky Sports box office in the UK and Ireland Saturday, April 26th.
Good stare down.
It's
good
Ben
stare down so far.
Eubank. The limit 160 pounds.
Tell him, Buffer.
The family feud goes on.
I got that one wrong, didn't I? Sorry to say I did tell you before.
Went broke, right? Yeah, all right.
It really has erupted down here on the stage.
Watch Eddie Hearn at the back. He's pushing Ben Shalom, the promoter of Boxer. Look at Conor Benn. Nobody. And I mean nobody puts egg in the face of Conor Benn. All right. So we'll let this play out here.
Wow. Well, I really wasn't.
So here's the deal. Well, yeah, this is the deal. Scrambled eggs, biatch. You're right. We are live. That is the deal. Okay. All dad puns are accepted at this point. Okay. There you go. Is this, acceptable behavior? Well, I mean, no, but I mean, it's an absolute dick move, right? It's certainly tied to him popping for the eggs. So Eubank going in that direction, but you got my attention. Okay. Not just the pro wrestling side of my brain, but the ridiculous. I mean, this is like, if you want to ask me things like, how do you stay a boxing fan so long through all the business bullshit and all the, come and go? Sometimes I have to be honest and say it's BS like this, that you don't get this in other sports. Okay. Lennox Lewis and Hasim Rahman knocking over the table on that up close ESPN thing. Tyson double legging Lennox and biting his feet and biting his ankles. I mean, Barrera and Morales brawling at the press conference, Riddick Bowe and Larry Donald brawling at the press conference, Fan Man, the Bogolata brawls. Like, this is the ish that has always been a big part of the sport. So this woke me up that I'm going to need to care, because this is going to be a circus. Now, it already was kind of going to be a circus. It's a catchweight fight between two guys with family history that are flamboyant and colorful and don't like each other. But this upped the ante. And if you don't believe me, Ede, who was caught on stage, like I said, pushing Ben Shalom of Boxer, Ede went to the microphone afterwards in an interview, and he talked in a way that Eddie Hearn doesn't normally talk. Sensationalism coming your way. Enjoy it.
But what I'm saying to you now is, listen, the game's the game, yeah?
That's a step over.
A fight's a fight. No, don't worry about it's a step over. It's done. What I'm saying now is, all bets are off. Anything goes. You've gone to that level, yeah? I'm talking about Thursday at Spurs, right? It's on site. It's on site.
It's on fucking site right now, guys. Okay. All right. All right. Oh, this is talk. It's boxing. Everybody says they want to F each other up. Not everybody throws yoke into your ear hole and embarrasses you while you're wearing expensive pajamas. Thursday's press conference is going to be must see at I think, what does Spurs mean? Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? I guess, maybe. I don't know. You tell me. I'm not British, okay? Although I've been adopted by the Welsh, I'm 1/8 Irish, and I got a Scottish last name. Okay, so tell me about that, right? Shout out to the people in Wales. I think I can. I think me, Joe Calzaghe, and you can hang out. That's what I'm talking about. All right. It's on site, lad. It is. It is. So it's going to be crazy. I know, obviously, they're going to have extra security there, but Eddie's kind of right. How does Ben come back from that? With craziness. Okay. So yeah, I'm into it. They got me back in. All it took was wasting some absolutely expensive huevos, and I'm back in. So that's sometime in April coming up, and I'll be catching that press conference tomorrow. Just the same. I hope you guys will too. This is the shit that stirs the drink. This is the straw right here. Okay. All right. This is it. There we go. We do need a Reggie report, and that happens to be topic number 3. Thank you, Andrew Nance. And thank you, obviously, always to the people who care so much about my annoying, crazy, ridiculous best friend of a cat. Okay. So we're gonna give that right now. All right. I think somebody jumped in. 9:15 a.m. did, to support the chat earlier. And he said, "How you doing, BC? How's Reggie? Also, it's crazy how a single egg can make such a dud fight more intriguing." You just said it perfectly. I don't think it's a dud fight, but it's a fight, like I said, that like isn't my Super Bowl, right? It's just it's not my. It is now. It is now. So let me give you the Reggie update. So while I was ranting about Levos, my wife just texted me, hearing back from the vet. It looks like we're good. Reggie is okay. He's out of surgery and recovering. So this weekend and the last couple days, we needed to get him through this pneumonia / serious respiratory illness so that he could be healthy enough to get the surgery. And I will say the last 2.5 days, he had turned back completely into his mayhem self. Woke me up 2 nights ago at 3:30 in the morning and bit my chin as hard as he possibly could. And then I chased him out the door. That's when I was like, okay, this is the Reggie I know. So I was happy that he wasn't coughing as much anymore, giving him breathing treatments like crazy and antibiotics. And unfortunately, the little tongue still hanging out, but he was still in pain from the teeth, but we got through the illness. So I brought him to the vet this morning, but he was a maniac. And it turns out that they needed like 3 to 4 more hours than they were expected to be able to get enough people to hold him down to do the x-ray. So they had to drug him up, hold him down. He's unbridled fury, that man, especially when he's outside of his domain. But he passed the x-ray test, which is great to hear. And then they were able to get him into surgery this late afternoon. He's going to need a lot of nursing, 24-hour care here to recover from this, but he's young, 5.5, 6, I think. And he's spunky. He's going to get through it. So thank you guys. There were some really rough days along the way where the respiratory thing was kicking his butt at a level where I thought we were hitting. I thought it was time. And we had a cat. We lost in the same, about 6 years ago, in the same like 2-week span, we lost our 18-year-old patriarch cat, Ziggy, and then 2-year-old Taylor. And like back to back after each other. I never lost an animal so early as 2-year-old Taylor. So, when you go through that, anytime any of your animals get even a little sick, you get haunted by the past. And I was not ready to come to terms that the BC and Reggie show was done. It's not done. It's going to keep going on. Only he may have a tongue hanging out and he doesn't have his chompers anymore, but we can get through this together. So thank you. Lazy Bed saying we should be called the Reg heads, like deadheads. Yeah, I'm down with that. Whatever we want to do. I mean, we're going to get this kid on a t-shirt one of these days soon. Okay. It's going to happen. All right. So thank you. Hopefully, he's going to come home drugged up and he's going to need a lot of, but I'm his guy until I got to go to Brooklyn for this Saturday because I'm living the dream. I'm climbing the mountain one more time. By the way, also your boy BC going to be on the call March 22nd in Vegas. Sebastian Fundora versus Cordell Booker on regular Prime Video. Check me out right there. The Mr. October t-shirt has to happen, Luke. Okay. All right. I got my coffee here. All right. Coffee talk with Luke Nocita. This guy's the best right there. That's my guy. All right. Damn right. All right. Now I turn it back over to you folks. Is Alan W showing up? We got to talk about that film. That's what happened. Okay. And I still got to listen to a couple things. All right. I got to listen to, yeah, we'll get back on that. Let's open up the floor to you guys. Now, the super chat is available if you want. It's up to you. Thank you for supporting the chat. I'll still answer your questions anyway. All right, here we go. The floor is yours. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Reggie Strong, indeed. Let's see what we got going on right here. Yeah. Well, so Sandina, is this really going to happen? A mid-40s climb of Everest? I'm going to need a little bit more info on this. Please drop it in, Sandine. Thank you very much. All right. Let's hit it. Javier Gonzalez. Hey, BC, what's your opinion on Tool, the band? Wow. Also, tell that donk Luke to listen to the new wave of death metal. Now, is the new wave of death metal the name of a band? The name of an era in death metal? I don't know. I would think that any form of death metal that you're offering is going to be better than the awful death metal that Luke hears, but I could be wrong in that regard. Javier, we have talked about this before, and let me tell you about Tool. So I didn't listen to them in the 90s. It wasn't like a planned deal outside of the few times they popped up with, MTV or radio hits. It just sort of went that way. Maybe they were a little too heavy for my musical palette at that point. But I've evolved so much through progressive rock into a little bit of prog metal. I mean, some of this King Crimson Prime stuff is prog metal indeed, okay? And I've had enough people that were MK fans that have, lived and died with Tool that have said not only should they be at the Sphere where Dead & Company was, right? Maybe that's true, but I got to get in there album by album, which I haven't done yet, but I've done a little bit. So where's the, well, I'm trying to navigate Wikipedia here. Here we go. So of their albums, I have had time with one, and it came on a very good recommendation from Matt Tucker, Combat Sports video journalist, works for well, I think he works for a few people, but works for Marcos Viegas there of what the heck's that? What's Marcos's brand called? He's been dominating YouTube for decades. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Alexa, end. I mean, come on, what's happening here? The record that I'm talking about that he told me I had to listen to was Fear Inoculum, 2019. Prog rock, alt metal come together. This thing's awesome. I'm probably about 5 listens in digitally, and I want to get this on vinyl. This album absolutely is speaking to the, like, if I'm going to live in metal for a little bit, this is the progressive metal is the direction that I want to go. So I'm all in. Now I understand I'm going to have to go back and go piece by piece here. I'm giving Tool the kind of respect that I typically reserve for like Floyd or not Mayweather, Pink, right? Or Radiohead, where, I want to do this right. I want to do this slowly. I want to invest in that way. I think there was a long time where I thought that Tool was going to be like a little too dark for me in terms of wanting to invest that much. But I'm realizing the genius and the musicianship on top of that. So I'm going to chip away at this, Javier. I'm going to have a better stance on this moving forward. It's there, though. I can tell it's there. Fair Inoculum is absolutely incredible. Thank you very much. There we go. Lazy Bed's favorite band is Zap if you're scoring at home. All right. And also, let's hear from Kevin G saying Fear Inoculum is probably their worst. It might be in terms of ratings, and I know it's obviously a recent release, a mature release for them, but it was offered to me as a recommendation from Matt Tucker to get in there from that prog angle. Oh, this is the gateway drug to get into there. So if you're pegging me as a 10,000 days kind of guy, then I'm gonna have to get in there and get back to you. Thank you very much. Let's keep it going. Run Dem Cheeks. That's what I'm talking about right there. Run Dem Cheeks. I mean, just an incredible name. What does it actually mean? I don't know. I don't really know. What are the worst seats? Then thank you for your support of this here chat that you've had at a concert. It's a good question. I mean, there are some times, you know, so in your late teens, early 20s, you tend to attend a lot of outdoor amphitheater concerts, which puts you on the lawn, which in some venues, like I guess you can call my home venue, what we used to call the Meadows Music Theater in Hartford, it had a pretty good lawn, which means big screens so you can see the zoom in on what's going on, and you can see enough in the distance of the stage. But I know there are other amphitheaters of that same ilk where you don't have that same view and vantage point. So it's almost akin to standing outside and listening on a, you know, on a radio rather than being there. But I've been pretty darn deep high up into the lawn where because, you know, a lot of those concerts you're going to for the atmosphere, for the party, for the pregame. Sometimes you don't even, I mean, have you ever gone to a concert and not actually gone in before? Sometimes what's going on out there in the High Live parking lot is in Hartford is better than what's going on inside. But yeah, I haven't had what would have been the worst seats I ever had. So this is the story I'll tell you off of this. Thank you for the question, Run Dem Cheeks. So I've been deep in the lawn on concerts that I didn't care about because I was there for the environment. I've been deep on the lawn in concerts I did, but you're like, man, I wish I was closer for this concert. But then I got tickets with a friend to see Guns N' Roses on that comeback tour in 2002, where it was just Axl and Dizzy Reed, and they had yet to do the full band reunion. But them coming back was monumental at that point in any form, right? Remember Jimmy Fallon had announced them at the MTV Video Music Awards, and even though Axl's voice was not a 10 out of 10, it was like, okay, you know, okay. I mean, and you got Buckethead. So it was like, okay. So we got tickets for Philadelphia and drove down, and the seats that we had gotten were literally the worst seats I'd ever seen or attempted to sit at for a concert. So it's like basketball arena, concert at one end. We're on the exact other end, upper deck, 3 rows from the top. And as we got there, while the warm-up band was playing, somebody had just thrown up on our 2 seats. So luckily, my friend Mel's was like, oh, I know how we're going to spin this right away. Because obviously we're not sitting there. You're like 4,000 feet away from the stage, way up high. The ceiling is like right here. And somebody just puked on our seats. And there was a really large person sitting in the seat next to it too, which means I'm only getting 60% of that seat. All right. So he spin the, hey, let's go to customer service or whatever they call that, and let them know what happened, and they'll give us great seats. They did exactly just that. Of course, we were aggressively embellishing the disgustingness of the atrocity of the vomit. And then we ended up in, so you think of a basketball or hockey arena, stage on the end, stage side, maybe like 5th row on the angle. So there's the floor seats right in front of you. Your 5th row on the angle looking diagonally right at the stage. So I'm like, this was the greatest flip we've ever done right there, because that would have been an awful vantage point up there. And then, and I don't know if I've told this story on here, then one of the scarier moments in my concert life history had happened. And when I mean by what happened was after the opening band played, there was a long delay and people were getting antsy in the crowd. And suddenly it's just shy of midnight. And we looked at each other. We were like, what if they're not coming out? And I remember we were both like, man, this place would riot. So just so you know, this was like within the first 4 or 5 shows on this comeback tour. And they had just had a show in, I think, Vancouver that was heavily maligned in the news because there was some form of a riot after or before, and people got crushed into the fence. And it was one of those really bad ordeals that you see sometimes when there's not enough doors open, or there's poor, what have you, poor organization, not enough security, whatever. It turns out Axl had never gotten on the plane from California to fly to the East Coast for this concert. And they announced that in front of the arena as people were like banging on stuff like, let's go, hoo, 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 like, you know, ready for this band. And they announced the band won't be here. Everyone's getting a refund. And they even announced over the loudspeaker that the band never arrived. So people lost their minds. And what happened out of instantly was, this is December of 2002. I had thought as it was happening that it was going to be like front page news, that it was going to like lead MTV News and be on every newspaper. And, you know, I thought it was going to be Bogolata, like the next day when you turn on the news that night and the next day and it's everywhere on everyone's local news. Like, oh my God, just see what happened in that boxing match over the weekend. See what happened at this concert. What turned out that happened was that they covered the story up, the arena, the promoter. It barely made a ripple in the press because they were coming off of such the bad press from the Vancouver stop that was threatening to cancel the tour that they wanted to keep it in-house there. But what happened was a riot on a level that I still can't even believe I saw. It wasn't just like people on the ground going crazy, throwing their chairs at the stage, which happened, and it was insane. The soundboard, which is on the opposite side of the stage on the floor, it got people slamming chairs against it, sparks flying everywhere. Eventually, they lit the soundboard on fire, and they're throwing more chairs into it, and they're building a fire. But then you look, so we're watching that from our vantage point, like, wow, this is really crazy. It was pretty darn crazy. And this was probably like right before cell phones escalated to where you could record it, even on like a really grainy recording, you know? So it was like right before that era where that became normal. Like, oh my God, something insane is happening. Let me document it. Right. So we're watching it. And then our vantage point of the floor, you're just tapping each other on the shoulder going like, oh my God, look up there. In the upper deck, like literally back in the seats that we were supposed to be in, people were ripping the ceiling tiles off and just throwing them. And then they're ripping the chairs out in the back of the chair, the arm of the chair, and they're just throwing. And we're just watching these projectiles come from the upper deck, and they're just knocking people into the head. And it's mayhem, fights breaking out. Well, then it got to a point where we're standing there, we look up, and there's so much stuff in the air that's coming down that's about to hit us that we're like, okay, we need to get out of here. Like this is really crazy. So we ran up the steps and ducked into one of those private boxes. And we thought, okay, we'll just hang here. We'll kind of let it all die down and we'll hang here. Well, there was a Christmas tree in there because it was December. And this kid comes running in, grabs there's people just looking for anything they can throw, grabs this Christmas tree, gets a running start, goes to throw it through the door back into the arena and completely misses and hits a lady directly in the face and she goes down. So her husband turns around and he just starts wailing on this kid. And this is like right next to us, mayhem going everywhere. So we're like, we got to get out of here too. So we went through the back door of the private box and we're in the arena and there are mobs of people running with weapons in hand that they've ripped off of things and they're just breaking stuff and looting stuff. So there's a large crowd coming at us and we were like, they're going to run over us. So we ducked down the stairs. As we got down the stairs, there was already a gang of people that were exiting. So we got down the stairs and out with them. And as soon as we stepped out of the arena, there's like 20 people going around just breaking every car window that they can see with pieces of the chairs. It was insanity. It was absolutely insanity. We got into the car and my friend gunned it and he went 100 on the highway for at least the first 10 miles and was just like, we need to get as far away from this as possible. So that's the worst seat that I ever had for a concert I didn't see that turned into violence and mayhem. And I assumed would be the lead story the next day. And there wasn't even like an ounce of it on the internet. Insane, but it happened. GG, BC, are you a drum and bass jungle guy? No, when you're saying drum and bass, I assume you're meaning like Chase and Status, right? Chase and Status. Is that the kind of music you're talking about? I like them. In fact, we met Saul from Chase and Status. Chase and Status, when he came backstage at our London show, he's friends with Dan Hardy, and Saul is the best. I think you may have seen him on Ariel Hawani's show. He got interviewed that time. he's been saying forever that when they hit America, which they've done a lot lately, that we're going to catch up and hang out, which would be awesome. But I don't regularly get down with that music, but I'm definitely not against it. I'm not sure what the slash jungle is. Is that a spin-off genre, or are you setting me up in a, I don't know. I don't know what's happening right here. Two Chains, BC, you said this was in Philly. Yes, this was early December of 2002 in Philly at the Sixers Arena. Never got on the plane from California. Insane. And you know Axel's reputation. So it's midnight. We're not that worried. We're just sort of like, it's Axel. Like you heard forever in the 80s that like they'd come on stage at 3 a.m. sometimes, right? The police would be threatening them and dragging them on there. Wow. All right. So that's how you get, well, okay. All right. I don't know if that's aimed at me or somebody else. See, there's a couple conversations happening at once on this show. You knew that. There's one right now. There's definitely one in the chat. There's one in my head for sure as well. So, you gotta, I get crossed up sometimes. BC, you need to, this is Brody Moret. BC, you need to go through Marilyn Manson's discography now that all his charges have been dropped. No BS. His early stuff is amazing. I'd have to take your word for it. I kind of lump him, even though it's a different kind of ridiculousness, a darker kind, I kind of lump him in with Kiss, because I have had rock fans that are like, dude, I'm telling you, you'd love Kiss. You got to get into their best stuff, and you got to, I don't want anything to do with Kiss. Is the lamest band of all time. All right. I'd say that to Dan Rayfield's face. Okay. Beautiful People might be fun, Sandy. And I don't have any interest in Marilyn Manson. It's just not going to be my thing. All right. It's like Luke at the Dead and Company Sphere concert, right? 2.5 songs in, Luke's like, yeah, this is just not going to be my thing. I think I'm going to leave right now. That did happen. Yeah, we're not messing around with Kiss on this show. Kiss is, except for Beth. Beth is a fantastic song, but thank you. Let's keep the fun rolling. It's this. Are you having fun? I have no proof of that. This is Lazy Bed. Let's go back to your favorite Anik BTS memory from the ESPN days. Lazy Bed, thank you for supporting the show. And as some of you may know, if you haven't checked out, by the way, that time we sat down with Anik with Morning Combat, we did the room service diaries from the CBS Sports office in Fort Lauderdale. It was awesome with Anik. So Anik and I do go way back. I think this is like 2006 and 2007. He was living in Boston. He was a radio guy. He had hosted a weekly boxing show on Boston radio that led to him getting sent to every major Mayweather Pacquiao boxing pay-per-view, like on that level for a long time. But he wasn't an MMA guy, but he was trying to get deeper into radio. So he was driving from Boston to Bristol, Connecticut. It's like 2 hours, and doing these part-time radio shifts. And you can tell he was an ambitious dude. He was into betting from day one before it was cool to be. Back when it was like, dangerous to talk openly about betting lines at ESPN. He was into that from the beginning. And of course, this is a man, and that's why I always give him credit when I see him, because he stays so thin and in shape, despite his Chose nickname when he used to host MMA Live in the beginning, and he'd have the chubby cheeks and, he was chubby host. This dude can crush McDonald's. And I'm talking about, he's an old school type of like, if I'm going to eat there, I'm going to spend $13 and I'm going to absolutely crush it. You know what I mean? So I've seen him put down some epic fast food takedowns, but he was, those part-time radio shifts led to him getting picked up on like part-time digital shifts. And I worked in the digital department at ESPN at the time. That basically meant the mobile web of ESPN.com. Back then it was separated. You have a separate team that ran the regular.com, a separate team that ran everything to do with the phones, before people woke up and go, oh wait, the phones are, 90% of how I access stuff these days. So he became like a part-time, he'd voice highlights of games and stuff and read news clips in the little studio we had. So we, being boxing guys, we hit it off, but as I've talked about a lot, he just went to bat for me in ways that he didn't have to, at different times for my career, at times when things were going hard personally, with my kids in the hospital and stuff. Like, he was just a true and real friend. So I couldn't be cheering for him more all the time. I do think his announcing work is incredible in some of the probably the best we've ever seen in MMA for that job. I love me some Moro for sure in the Pride and Bellator days, definitely. But that guy has taught me a lot without realizing it, of not just hard work, which I have and I worked on and improved and feel like I got to a point where I am where I'll outdog you. There's no question. But I learned a lot of the structure of that from him. He was very detail oriented from the beginning, his cue cards, all that stuff, So I was, sitting with him day to day when he got his first chance to call a Klitschko fight on ESPN, like a international one. And, when he was making his bones on MMA Live, which of course got on Dana's radar and led to him getting hired there soon after. It was when he got hired by UFC and appeared at that first press conference. It was like, when there's like the NBA draft or something, and then or NFL draft, and they have the camera of the people of the family back at home, and as soon as they see that their person got drafted, people are going nuts. That was us in the ESPN newsroom when we saw him come to the podium and when Dana announced him. That was a big moment, and he's really evolved and worked on his craft, and proud of him, proud of that dude. But he's hilarious. He's got, he knows the odds of every game going on at every time. And I cheer for that guy. An awesome dude. All right. Robert Thomas, BC will outdog you in a dick down. That's there's a rumor out there that's true. Okay. there is a rumor out there. Lazy Bed, remember when I think you're meaning Anik, gave you the Bernard Hopkins interview? Yeah. I told that story a few times. In life, if you're lucky, you'll look back and really see the people that were there at the time that even if they didn't know what they were doing, you needed them most. Encouragement, opportunity, what have you. Mentors you have at work or people that went out of their way to invest time in you. Anik used to be on my case daily of like, too much about boxing and you're too great at what you do to be where I was I think I was a manager in the newsroom of the Mobile Web's editorial and video team. It was, and then for years I was like the front page editor and those are decent jobs as you're building up. But he would go out of his way to be like, how can I help you? Can I reach out to this guy? You should be writing for this website. You should be whatever. And he really was just the right guy at the right time to plant those seeds in my head of like, no, you can and should be doing this, So I'm always going to give him that credit as a friend. And it led to that day where Bernard Hopkins is his favorite boxer ever and was at that time. He was a massive B-Hop fan. And then B-Hop was coming to ESPN and John comes up to me that day. And that was before I had been on camera at ESPN and was like, you have a suit? You're doing this interview. And I didn't, and the crazy part about the story was I didn't accept it. I was like, no, I'm not ready, blah, blah, blah. Like, plus I'm like, the bosses will get mad. I'm like, thank you so much for saying that, but this is your gig. Go do it, dude. That's your guy. Like, let's prep questions together, but that's your guy. And, me saying no in a moment where I may have had an opportunity to make a big leap or to try something or to open a door, right? It ate at me for so long that I like kept hearing Anik's voice in my brain. And that was a big supercharge. And like, what is stopping me from doing what I want to do the most? Right. So there you go. All right. Shout out to Anik. Thank you very much. Robert Thomas, Luke Thomas's father, clearly. The first Mike Perry interview was hilarious. I thought he was going to hunt you down, BC. Yeah. I've apologized for that in hindsight for being for rebel rousing Mike, knowing of his craziness. I had interviewed him actually a few times before that in person back when UFC used to do the media days where you'd wait in line ahead of each fighter and had some fun playing with his personality and emotions. And, you look back sometimes and you're like, yeah, I was kind of a jerk doing that, trying to press the buttons. I mean, in hindsight, should I have asked him that question about the Platinum Princess's ex-wife and the comments from his ex-coach who said, getting rid of her was the best thing that could happen to his career? I shouldn't have asked that, obviously. So when Mike said, I'll kill you I'll next time I see you, you know, I wasn't nervous because he says that to a few people at that time, but I did afterwards was like, yeah, I said I deserved that. I was going for the click there. You know, you'll learn as you grow there. All right. BVAW 11. I like that BC interviews fighters from promotions like One. They may get less views, but are catnip for hardcores. Yes. Yes. I mean, I probably could chase more big names on the regular and look at this channel as I'm just trying to max out dollars and views and all that. But I guess I'm lucky or to be in a spot where I can do this for fun on the side, take a little bit of cash from what I make here, but can kind of pick out things I want to do. So yeah, if I get an offer from One and it's an interesting story or a fighter I like, same thing from smaller time boxing promoters. I want to bring it to the BCX. I mean, it's a little, you know, stings a little when I put some heart and soul into an interview and you're like, I thought that interview was going to bomb, but I didn't think, you know, 600 people were going to watch it. But that's the game we play out here. But don't miss Manel Kopp and Virgil Ortiz Jr. coming your way to the BCX. And I like One Championship, and I'm good friends with their PR guy. So shout out to Mark, just the same. I used to work with him back when he worked at WWE. Mark. So I want to get more Cade Rotolo on MK and on these parts because it's really fun watching him make that transition to MMA. And I definitely have enjoyed talking to Malikin, RDR before he made the move. All of that. All right. I'm staying in on the Reggie situation, right? We're doing good. We're doing good. This one's from Devin Tuck. Yeah, tuck that hang down in, Devin. We appreciate that. What Hughes Gracie style fight would you make today? Well, what are you really asking here? When you say Hughes Gracie style, are you talking about the type of fight that brings someone back to an organization that hasn't been there for a long time? Or are you saying a style clash? What are you saying here? Talk. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure, Deb. Thank you. Maybe we'll follow up on that. All right. Let's go over to Matthew Garrett. BC, check. Have Long Island Luke check for my email. I've the rate my tat of the century. It'll make MK Hall of Fame, I promise. You and Luke got to see this. Well, Matthew, thank you for supporting this here channel and this here chat. Thank you very much on that regard. I think I've seen you make comments. So you're saying that you have emailed the show a rate my tat that has yet to be posted on the show in fan subs. I'll talk to Mikey and look into this for sure. It'll make the MK Hall of Fame. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We went a little too far on the ish this week. Okay. All right. So we're trying to pull back a little. Okay. Thank you. Same fella here. Same fella here, Matthew Garrett. Has anyone ever dedicated a song to you? My father dedicated to me on the radio while missing my birth. The live version of Kiss, Lick It Up. Wow, that's a very interesting. Not that I remember ever happening. Although obviously that was a very big thing in the 80s, early 90s when radio mattered and you could shout out a song to your boo, right? Or what have you, or to your boy. And no, I don't think anyone serenaded me that way. But I will say, the time that Rafe and I drove from LA, where he was living, to Fresno for that Jose Ramirez versus Jose Zepeda fight. That was a top rank ESPN main event, very close decision. Ramirez defended his 140 title, but to this day, I think Zepeda got him, guys. I think he did, with Freddie Roach in his corner. He introduced me to what's that old dude's name in LA radio who does that like all night long thing of R&B song, old school jam shout outs. What's that guy's name? You know what I'm talking about? Rafe loves this guy. And we listened to that because we ended up being stuck in traffic. There was a monster snowstorm. We got stuck on that I-5 there. We ended up going through the Roosters to Hatchapee Town. Shout out to the Rooster. Fantastic, crazy boxer. And we listened to this dedication show where they were like, Art LeBeau, thank you. Thank you. Okay. A lot of you people jumped in. Jay, thank you. Kevin G. Art LeBeau show is so old school, so wholesome, and so California weird, because like 60% of the calls on the Art LeBeau show, and it's great oldies like R&B jams, love songs. Thank you, Arturo from the UK, knowing about this guy. Wow. All these shout outs, 60% of them at least, are from women shouting out their man who's in jail, and just say like, I just want, or guys in jail shouting out their ex-girls and saying like, I'll be back, I'm coming for you. Like, but it's done very like heartfelt and wholesome, not ironic. And, like very, it's Art LeBeau's, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. So if I was ever to get serenaded or shouted out with a song, this one's out to BC. Right? This cup of AG1 goes out to you. I hope it's on the Art LeBeau show. Is he even alive anymore? I hope. Rafe was telling me that like he went to some Art LeBeau concerts where like they'd get these super concerts with these oldies bands, and Art would like do this stuff on the mic. I mean, that's wild. That's wild. Okay. Let's hear from J Ray B02. I think that's the year he was born. Not his fault, as Luke Thomas would say. Thank you for supporting me, taking competitive fairness out of the equation. Henry Cejudo, I believe you're saying, deserved to be fouled like that for how racist he was towards Song since the fight was booked. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I don't understand the climate right now where if you comment on this on Morning Combat or this or on social media, man, do you get flooded with people telling you they're sick of you calling everything racist. They're sick of you using the word racism, which I mean, I get it, but that was pretty racist. I mean, it's like, imagine if Song Yadong came with giant tacos. You know what I mean? It was like, here you go, Cejudo. I'm not saying that Cejudo would have been angry and it would have been this thing, but we would have been like, oh, who are gonna bring out watermelon for your next opponent? You know what I mean? Like, where are we going with this? So yeah, that was interesting. But this is MMA where, I mean, boxing's not a lot better. I mean, homophobia is rancid in boxing, rampant, excuse me, and rancid, but I don't know. It's not like I expect people to get along in fight sports, and I love it when they don't. It's excellent, right? It's just, yeah, all right. But that was wild. And I know people don't like Long Island Luke and I, given the take we did about Cejudo. I'm not saying Cejudo wasn't injured. He was injured. It compromised his vision. We saw that in the end of the third round. I'm saying he was borderline shameless in how much he tried to milk every second of the 5 minutes, beyond the line of like, oh, that's a veteran move, or hey, he got fouled, he can do what he wants, which is also true. I think that led to Herzog doing what he did and going to the cards. I think it was almost like a backhanded response, but I could be wrong. But that's my honest take. All right. I do think I got Project Zeb's got my back. Okay. I know not everybody wanted to hear that. No Cita had the balls. Okay. No Cita had the balls to say it too. There you go. There he is. I'm not against Henry's one of my favorite fighters, like without a question. And I used to hate the guy and thought he was cringe as crap. And then I was like, no, this guy, I finally woke up to his incredible fight mind and his IQ. I love Henry. I was cheering for him in this fight, but I did think he could have, if there's anything I'm willing to believe that we haven't said, I would say, I wonder if Henry wasn't fully sure of the situation and thought that the more he delayed it, although I'm not saying he didn't delay it because his vision was compromised. I'm telling you, I know that. I accept that. But I'm saying, I wonder if he thought the more he says he can't fight would lead to a disqualification, right? That's what I'm saying. So, and Bivol is right, what he's about to say right here. It didn't help that Cejudo was playing up to the audience while refusing to get up. Yes. And also when they told him your time was up, he still was like looking away, trying to, and I know it's because he's in his head going, should I keep going? I'm not even sure I can see. I just got lit up. But I also think he was trying to figure out, like, how can I kind of try to manipulate the situation? Maybe he thought that arguing with Herzog rightfully about Herzog not taking a point away or threatening hard enough, maybe he was hoping that would lead to a point or a DQ. That's what I'm saying. But I'm certainly not questioning his toughness. I do, though, feel like, even though a lot of people said they don't think Song looked great in this fight, I mean, I've never thought he looked great. He's he's a little bit flawed. He gets hit a little bit too much, but I feel like I saw if Cejudo wants to hang with these guys, he has to use every ounce of energy he has. He's going to gas out by the end in these fights, and he's still going to get hit too. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if he should try to hang anymore with the elite. You want to get 1 or 2 legends fights? That's cool, but I think he learned it in those 3 rounds, even before the fouls added up. And yes, they did add up, but whatever. This is Two Chang's in the building. Big box event. He just moved, this guy Two Chang's. Still representing Nevada, though. Might be on the run. He might be. All right. But I'd have a drink with that guy for sure. UC Schofield's dad. Yeah. So this story, which was already really wild, is now really, really wild. So Two Chang says, you see, Schofield's dad said Turkey threatened him with Saudi prison if he didn't take down his tweet. So I think the fallout of this fight, which was Floyd Schofield pulling out, but also accusing Shakur Stevenson and his team of drugging him, among other things. And then, we had the electrician fill in, and then the narrative kind of switched more to like, is Shakur really that guy? He didn't take that guy out fast enough. Like we settled on there. And I think a lot of people, when it comes to Schofield in this topic, are just sort of like, good riddance. You either pulled out of the fight because you were scared, or you were having a really hard time making weight and you want to admit it. But I think people were just sort of like, yeah, whatever. We'll see that kid again. He's not ready for this level. And we found out. That's kind of where people were at. But the Schofields won't stop pushing, I guess, what they think is their truth, this conspiratorial narrative that shenanigans really were at play here. I don't get the feeling that they have ever blamed Saudi Arabia or the medical or local officials there. It seems as if it was always aimed at Team Schofield, but it also seems like they were mad that nobody believed them. Remember, Oscar De La Hoya kind of apologized for the situation publicly, and then the Schofields were like, we're going to get it. We only have a couple fights left. We're going to be out of our deal soon. Okay. If the Schofields really, I mean, they're not backing down. If there really is an issue here, you would like it to get kind of investigated or whatever. I also realize that Saudi doesn't want problems over there. They know of the sensitivity of the Saudi boxing takeover right now, I'm sure, and don't want issues. Like, I'm actually a little bit surprised that like Turkey tweeted out the video, even though it's great promotion for the fight of the egg thing. Like, sometimes I wonder if some of the things that happen in boxing, like, are unfit for Saudi in the way things are run there, culture differences, all that stuff. That's what I'm ultimately trying to say. But this is now next level. There's also a video out there that accompanies what Two Chang's is asking me to some degree, where it looks like some local official in Saudi comes up to Schofield Sr. and they have like a serious conversation. But the Schofields are saying that after Schofield Sr. accused Shakur during fight week of the masseuse drugging him, whatever that was, that they were threatened with Saudi prison if they didn't take down the tweet. Now we're crossing over into some real heavy-handed, uneasy, dangerous territory about the reality of the Saudi boxing takeover, because we have, like, the Jamal Khashoggi thing did happen. Okay. There are people jailed over there for tweeting critical things about the government. There are people that have had worse than jail happen to them for doing stuff like that. Like, this is all very real, as much as we want to go, man, the fights are really good, and and they really pay a lot of money and make it seem like it's big and royal, which they do. And a lot of that has been good for boxing. But there's that uneasiness of being so willing to not just partner up with people that live by a different set of rules, but like literally get in bed. I mean, the amount of glazing publicly is kind of, it's just out of control at this point. I don't know if this is true, but this ain't good at all. And you do have to recall that Schofield Jr. put out a tweet that was odd after the fight was called off, where he was like, I just want to let everybody know publicly that I don't believe Shakur and his team did do that, blah, 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 blah. And it was like awkward. It was so awkward that you wondered if he was made to tweet it. I have also heard rumors. I don't know if they're true, but I've heard rumors from prominent people that Turkey doesn't love the name calling that comes with trash talking, and that some fighters have been forced to stand up and apologize behind the scenes at dinners to other fighters. That they certainly don't like criticism from people internally. I know that to be true. This was a potential scandal that I'm sure the Saudis didn't want, with the whole accusations of drugging. But if we're going to the level of threatening prison time for trying to bring to light something, I don't know how you'd want to go over there, to be fair, to be very fair, to be very upfront about it. I don't know if this is true. Mr. Floyd Schofield Sr., what do we say about him? He's aggressive. He puts things out there in the media that sometimes you're like, whoa, but they're not backing down on this. So, wow, Beval, what do you got? When it comes to the Saudi royal family, there are no rules. These people are scary if they see you as an enemy. I mean, it's a different culture, and government-wise, it's a different set of rules, even though the rules are changing in this government really fast, by the way. I mean, you see Trump's doing the Dana thing of like, now I only want handpicked influencers asking me questions. That is interesting. That is interesting. Hopefully Nina Drama gets an opportunity to ask the president some important questions there. Thank you very much. Yeah. There was another Saudi question here I wanted to. I mean, how am I going to answer your question, too, Chang? I mean, you asked me if I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. It's not like Ring Magazine's going to investigate this, right? Is ESPN going to investigate this, or does people just go, oh, this is boxing and that's a crazy dad trainer and that's ridiculous? Not that I think Shakur did this necessarily, but if these accusations led to, we will imprison you if you don't stop. We're going to act like this is normal. It's not normal, guys. Not normal. I mean, maybe normal over there. I don't know. Wow. Okay. Let's, this is the question I want. It's Dave Sandine checking in earlier, asking me. Thank you. Thank you, Sandine. Question for BC. Last weekend, you said you thought, and this is connected, in my opinion, to this larger Saudi conversation. You thought maybe something smelled rotten in Riyadh. Given a few days to reflect, how do you still feel that way? So, yeah. So I talked about it on Twitter, then on Morning Combat on Monday, and with Rafe yesterday, and Inside the Box. And it is the Turkey situation with not just cheerleading for Shiraz in the corner, but indicating to the team that they were down on the scorecards. And we don't know, because it's not like there's a press conference after where the media is asking honest questions of Turkey and getting responses here. Like, we don't know. Was there corruption involved? Did he get access to the scorecards? I mean, what commission is out there? Are they doing drug testing? Like, what's going on here? Like, is it? I'm not really sure. I mean, I know a lot of times the Mohegan Sun commission would like travel internationally with Bellator, for example, and be the local on-site there. I'm not really sure who's doing that in Riyadh right now. But what I said on MK, I still believe. Like, I don't know. This could very easily be just Turkey seeing Chris Mannix's scorecard, seeing the fourth AI judge, because he seems to be really big on that. And then just in my opinion, overstepping his boundaries and, going above and beyond and like cheering and coaching one of the fighters when he's not a promoter and he's paying everybody and he makes the matches. And you sort of want that person to at least show some form of, there you go. But the reason why I go nuts about this, when everybody else in boxing just seems to be like, it seems pretty clear to me that there's plausible deniability, which there is. So most people in boxing were like, I don't love it that he did that, but like Floyd did the same thing. Eddie Hearn does the same thing. Whoever does the same thing. Again, I think this is a different position. But the reason why I take this hard stance is related to what Floyd Schofield Sr. is now accusing Saudi Arabia of doing. Like, they have control over everything. These promotions have largely been like, here, do what you want with our roster, whatever you say, sir. He's put millions into each sanctioning body, so they have reason to align priorities with Saudi. I'm not here trying to say that he's got the commission, paid for and all that, but you would never want, in my opinion, that to be something that can be easily gleaned from watching the broadcast or in your mind conceived, like, was that on the up and up? Like, obviously they don't care about that, or that's not a priority for them, or they're not challenged regularly, so it doesn't matter. I don't know, but I still feel like it was probably innocent in the end, but a difference in how I view that job and how the behavior should be. But it's the other unsettling stuff. It's hard to ignore this and be like, it's not nothing. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, can some of this stuff get adjusted, cleaned up? Can somebody talk to him? Can we whatever? And we won't talk about this again. If it doesn't happen again, we probably won't. But it asks a lot of questions, because there's this, we're looking at like singular power here over everything. So over the network, they just put $1 billion into Zone, right? So like whatever they say, they're gonna get. There's no question here. Tu Cheng says Turkey is Dana with $5 billion, and he's really running everything. Yeah, like he is. That's why I think that's the only person you can equate him to, is the power that Dana has in MMA, he currently has in boxing. So to me, you're not coaching fighters or picking favorites or showing people publicly that this is my guy. He does that. Does it really matter? You can argue that for yourself. Does it matter? Probably not. And unless he's jumping over that line and illegally going in a corner, which you're not supposed, I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't know. All right. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. Some people can't say anything about it. Some people are financially tied in, and I get that. I also get that. I wouldn't want to be in that spot. But what if you had to be in that spot? What if that's how you're going to keep your lights on? It's, that's why you can only rail so much on the reporters that show up every single time Dana sits down, and they can ask certain questions. They can't be a dick about it. They're going to be there anymore. Nina Drama's going to be there pretty soon. It already is. That's where we're at. It's a weird time. It's a weird time for journalism. Journalism might not be a thing anymore pretty soon. All right. So, you got to pick your battles per se, but, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Devin Tuck, thank you for clarifying that, sir, and for the support you're giving. So when you brought up the Matt Hughes Royce Gracie fight, you're saying, is there another example I'd like to see, like a legend from a decade ago versus a current one? Yeah, so it'd have to be a unique situation in which a retired fighter was still, in our eyes, close enough to an age where we thought they could come back. What would be a boxing equivalent to this? And who knows? I guess in some ways it could happen, probably unlikely. But Andre Ward, who's 41, retired on his own terms in his mid-30s, first ballot Hall of Famer, retired undefeated. Maybe he didn't get as many huge fights as we would have wanted for somebody with his talent, because he was in and out of the ring with his battles with his promoter and stuff like that. But we got to see him in enough of them, and we know how all-time great he is. Imagine if Canelo said publicly, I'd like to get that Andre Ward on my resume. Because, Ward said that if Canelo would have mentioned his name at any point in the last 5 years, Ward would have come out of retirement. So that's a good example of a situation where you're like, okay, Ward's older, he's been out for a while, but the mind, the size, it's an interesting thing. It could go one-way traffic like Hughes Gracie ultimately was. What's the MMA equivalent right now? I would think George St. Pierre would be I know every day that goes by, he stays in top end shape, but we're not seeing him in a fight, right? Even though there was that brief period where he was considering boxing and was blocked by his still ongoing UFC deal, even though he was retired. But I get it. They had a certain amount of claim on him. Still, imagine if that, then you know what the fight is it's Habib versus GSP, but not now. It's right before Habib retired. And remember, Habib had pushed for that fight and had wanted it, it seemed, but it never felt like UFC had wanted it. And I'm not sure if GSP was, I'm not sure if he wanted it. I don't know. I don't recall at this point, but that's probably the fight. If GSP would have come back out of retirement again at that point when Habib was on the top of the mountain, it's like, you know, you don't know. Maybe he could come in and, I mean, he kind of did that already against Bisping, where he just showed us his greatness. It didn't matter that he'd been out so long in a new weight class. His greatness found a way in this modern era to figure it out. Could that have happened against prime Habib? The odds would have been against it, but damn, you would love to see that, right? Damn. You know, what do you got, Arturo? Cruz versus Aldo. Yeah, I think that would have been a perfect matchup. How about Aldo versus Cejudo? But what do we get instead? We feed them to the up-and-comers. And I know that's the life cycle of promotion. And it's always been the UFC way. They are always going to take that legend for, 99% of the time and feed them to a guy on the way up that could be a contender. That's why we had to see Anderson Silva against, Brunson and then Cannonier. I mean, I don't think it should have happened. I hate that Jose Aldo is now just this gatekeeper giving chances against guys who may be legit, but we're not sure, and maybe he just signed on for another one. And it's a good fight. Is it a hobby that he's going to fight? But I don't know. Sometimes you got to just put the legends in there together. And it's not always a perfect fight. Didn't they do that with Edgar and Faber at one point? I mean, Faber almost fought McGregor. Dude, if they put, I know my UFC fantasy matchmaking ideas are typically video game crazy to hardcore MMA fans, but you're telling me if they made a creative Henry Cejudo, Conor McGregor catchweight fight right now that kind of almost fits this description, but not really, since they're both largely inactive and older now. But imagine a weird fight like that. Like, once in a while, I like a kind of weird fight where somebody has kind of no business coming back and they are. Not when they're 48, 58, 59, 60. Like, not the Triller / Paul Tyson thing. But it really is the rare scenario where someone's been out. It's kind of like if Kane had, let's say Kane didn't come back and lose to Ngannou, where he got hurt again. And let's say Kane had been out the whole time, but he came back last year. Maybe Kane was like, you know what, with this jail thing, I'm not sure. I'm going to do it one more time. If Kane had come back one more time and had gone in there against the Aspinall of today, or John Jones, good Lord. Imagine John Jones against a returning Kane, but Kane's pretty, Kane, I don't think, we'll never see Kane fight again, but we'll have an unanswered questions for the rest of our lives. Yeah. Sandine, says it's not too late for the Faber versus Dillashaw grudge match. I agree with you. I do. That's a sloppy old guy fight with a sloppy backstory that I'm in on. I'm also in on gross ideas like, I'm saying this knowing that Dillashaw can't even raise his arm above his shoulder. Like, he can't do this anymore from the damages he took in the Aljo fight. But Garbrandt Dillashaw 3, yeah, I'd watch that on GFL or UFC. Okay, that was gross. I said it out loud. It felt gross coming out. All right. Yeah. Let me keep it going here. Great questions today, folks. Okay. Great questions. I'm up on Reggie. Reggie's recovering now. He's recovering. This is Remix. Thank you for remixing it into this chat and supporting me. Thank you. You should try to get on the Are You Garbage podcast, or at least listen to it. Right up your alley. You'll thank me later. So I've been recommended this podcast like a million times, including some of my, high school friends, some of the old bros. Who's on that podcast? Let me look one more time. The fact that I have to look it up shows you that I'm not in on it, but I've heard enough people. Okay. So it's a bunch of comedians there. Yeah. I probably should give it a try. I probably should, I listen to podcasts with comedians like the Golden Hour. You know what I mean? No, I don't. But shout out. Will the Golden Hour go on? I think Hot Chip should take Shab's place on the Golden Hour. Everyone wear a yellow satin jacket. All right, it's great. I knew somebody was going to do this. Jay Allen, don't break my heart. Yeah. That Rafe said it. Rafe was extra sour. It seemed on yesterday's Inside the Box. That's what you get on that show. All right. He's not gonna sugarcoat it. He's not, he doesn't want to debate you on the boxing business. He doesn't care where the fights go. Who's fighting? Is it going to be a good time? He'll be there. And, I respect that. He's got old man on the front porch attitude. And at like age 42, that's my guy. That's my guy, Rafe. But yeah, he broke my heart when he was basically like, so Shakur's basically Paulie, right? And by the way, Paulie's a 2-division champion and overachieved in his career, while simultaneously maybe underachieving because of how much his hands held him back. The fact that he wasn't a puncher and the fact that he had such delicate hands. But man, that guy had heart. Was such a great boxer. Great quote. I know it ended weird at Showtime, but I love Paulie. I loved working with him those few times that I got on the like weigh-in desks and stuff like that. Paulie's fun. Paulie's great because like there'll be like 30 seconds to live and everybody's like, getting ready and redo. And then you look over and like Paulie's like, he's got his feet on the desk. He's got like 18 things out on the table in front of him. Like his tie's not even tied. And then they'll be like, all right, and 5, 4, and just not even fast, in like a smooth, miraculous motion. Everything disappears and he's like on and he delivers, absolutely. But don't break my heart, Jay Allen, on this Shakur comparison. Look, I get Shakur's stock is, it's in the toilet. I get it. I don't know how it got there. But all it takes is a fight against a super elite in which he wins, or maybe, because you can still prove a lot in defeat at the highest level. There's no doubt about that. Look at this Better BF Bivol series and the class that they've shown, right? We got to get Shakur versus Tank. We have to. Tank has to fight Shakur or Keyshawn Den this year. That's what I'm saying. Like as a fan, like I got to see that. And like, I wouldn't be against a Pitbull rematch, and it would be an easy fight to make in-house on PBC for sure. And maybe commercially we'll see it no matter what, because, Pitbull went on to win a title or went on to, move up to 140, and he lost that title fight to Valenzuela, but he just bounced back the last time in that war with Fierro. But I got to see Tank versus Shakur. And I don't know if everybody else feels that way. I mean, I know a lot of people like that fight. But I get that there's so much displeasure, distaste for Shakur, it seems, at the moment, that people just want to hate. The talent's still in there. I mean, like, can you imagine somebody winning 7 rounds against him to win a decision? I could imagine Tank stopping him. Sure. Tank is incredible. But I could also see Shakur winning a split decision and just showing us, the true craft. But Tank is also an incredible boxer. That's why you got to see it. We got to see it. Okay. We need to see it. 2 Chainz, what are you asking me here? And thank you, 2 Chainz, for supporting this show. I think Shakur doesn't have enough power to keep Tank off him. It could very well be what happens. It very well could. Also though, I'm not sure Tank will ever fight another pro who brings the exact equation and problem to the table that Shakur will. Like Shakur can, think about it in basketball. Like you can hold the ball and try to like bring the game on your terms if there's no shot clock. Like Shakur can take away what he does great, but he can also do that and still get clipped late and get stopped. Like it's part of the intrigue of why we need to see it. We need to see Tank in there against somebody who has an opportunity to win 8-9 rounds against him. I think it's possible, Bivol knows. If Shakur beats Tank, people should hopefully stop the hate. Oh, dude, they would stop the hate. Okay. Like they would stop the hate. I mean, I know the fallout to Crawford Spence was extra wild and crazy and amazing because Crawford one-sidedly dominated in such a flawlessly brilliant performance and took some big shots early and just walked right through them. And I wouldn't expect if Shakur won that it would look like that. No, I mean, this, if Shakur is going to win, it's probably by majority or split decision here, but they're not that would be such a statement win as long as it wasn't, heavily disputed. But in boxing would switch right into loving him like they should, because the greatest currency in this game is challenging yourself against the very best and enduring and winning, and you don't always have to win. That's the thing. That's why De La Hoya is a first ballot Hall of Famer, because that's why Sugar Ray Leonard was, the four kings were about that life. And I love that we're seeing that again in these young fighters, whether they can, who knows if they have the same staying power, ability, and greatness of a Leonard, Hearns, Hagler, and Duran. But I love that these guys want it this badly and want these challenges early. And it has fueled criticism for Tank. People have wanted him to have fought more super elites by now. They were also building a brand and a business, and that's also how it works. And it's not like he hasn't fought anybody. But it's time now. It's time to get these champions together in the 135. This division is, the champions right now are Tank, Shakur, Keyshawn, and Lomachenko. Like, holy crap. What a time to be alive, right? Are you kidding me? All right. Jay Allen back in the building here. What up, BC? What up, Jay? Future lightweight champion Kevin Lee has now become future pound for pound great. Sure. Oh, stop that. Stop that talk right now. I've told you I've 9-lived guys before, which means no matter what they do, I'll find a way to believe they can still open up a new chapter. Zab Judah, Adrian Broner, Amir Khan. I bring those names up all the time. Although Amir Khan's not a real 9 lives guy, because once we realized what we're really dealing with the chin, you couldn't have stayed with believing, right? And he lingered for a while. He tried that guy, man, you wish Khan had a chin, because that guy had De La Hoya balls. Like, that guy wanted to be great and be in nothing but huge fights and make a lot of money, and was always willing to go out on his shield. But it became scary, and it also became where anybody he was fighting was going to rock him. And yeah, it was tough. It was tough. It's just that Shakur has a different like those guys had huge flaws. Shakur's major flaw, to his critics, is that he doesn't go after it enough against lower level competition. And while I understand what that does negatively to his brand and why people don't like that and why they don't get excited for Shakur fights, because I tried to get a lot of people excited about the De Los Santos fight, and that's not an appeasing performance. I get it, but that doesn't get in the way of winning, and winning ultimately matters the most here. And I think Shakur's a winner, so I'm going to hang on. I'm going to hang on right now until I see in the ring, right? Until somebody steps in there and beats him that has no business to, and then you're like, okay, he's not that guy. Right now, he's still that guy to me. Yeah, sorry. The skills will pay the bills. This man is more skilled than the other guys, except for maybe Keyshawn and except for maybe Tank. And I say except for maybe Tank because even though Tank's 30 and even though he's been in a bunch of big fights, we saw him have to rally, hang on, and show his real class as a boxer against Pitbull when he injured his hand, for sure. And Pitbull was on that night, late notice opportunity, but he came to win. But we haven't seen someone we really haven't seen someone force Tank to find the last gear, right? Like to back against the wall. And I believe that and back against the wall could mean you have to punch your way out, or you have to make adjustments, like Andre Ward in the first Kovalev fight, when he gets knocked down in the first 3 rounds, gets knocked down so aggressively that you're like, oh, but he had enough time to battle back. Like, we got to see Tank do something like that against a super elite. But I still think he can. So until until these guys fail at that level, you got to believe. All right, Tug McGraw, you got to believe. There you go. Thank you, Hihachi Mishima. I appreciate your contributions to supporting this chat. Best Rush album. I'll wait for you to say Hemispheres. So I put the same limitations on Rush as a band, that when I'm ready, I got to do it right. And I went so hard into Prague about 2.5 years ago. And yeah, I bought every Yes album there was, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, which I do really like, by the way, a lot of their stuff, most of their stuff. And I went down that road, but I kept putting Rush at like the end of the highway. Like, I'll get to it and I'll do it right. And then I kind of fell out of Prague to a certain degree in terms of investing that much. And I sort of left Rush as like, I can't do this casually. I got to do it when I'm ready, and I got to do it aggressively. And I haven't always I've had a weird relationship with Rush and in sort of the radio hits that have crossed over. I certainly respect and love what they bring to the table more now that I've actually done the prog thing, and I'm not avoiding prog like it's something I don't understand. I'm going head over heels into it. But I'll have to get back to you. Hi, Haji. Thank you. All right. All right. What else we got? Anything else? You guys got anything else in here? Let's see what we got here. Did the chat die? Is that what I hear? The chat died? RIP chat? I'm still chatting. I'm still chatting in a vacuum, smelling my own farts at the moment, probably. No, thank you. Thank you. All right. Scott McCrate is here. He's here, guys. BC, were you in the building, Bridgestone Arena, for UFC Nashville when Wonder Boy and Pettis fought? That was the first UFC event I attended live. The main event was dope. Yeah, that main event with that, comeback knockout finish. I'm sure that was special. And that was, it was in high. Now we look back, we're like, that was like one of those last time around for Anthony Pettis to have a big moment in a UFC fight and to briefly reinvent himself in a new division there. No, I was not there. I've actually never been to Nashville and still really want to go. Went to Austin once and loved it. Never been to Memphis in terms of the music scene and the history there, but I do have wants for Nashville. So I wasn't there. I would have loved to have been on those cards. Man, I love when the UFC's not in the damn Apex, right? And I love when the UFC matches the cards aggressively like they used to. Remember those days? It was great. It was great. We Are Live. Are you in the 8th row? Pull your pants up and get out of here. Interesting talk from We Are Live right there. I think we're always in the 8th row, right? I think it's a lifestyle at this point, right? Okay. Yeah, so this is an interesting topic. Thank you, Remix. O'Malley versus Merab it's heavily rumored on Twitter. Not by like high-level journalists, but again by some of these people that like you're like, is this a real reporter? Do I trust this? But I'm seeing a lot of it. I'm seeing a lot of smoke. Is there fire? Rumored for UFC 316 in Newark. I saw on good old reliable X. Yeah, good old, never question it, totally reliable X. So I've had some not arguments, but like debates with Luke and Mikey on this, where I'm like, I kind of side with the people who see this rumor and go like, didn't O'Malley lose like 4-1 and hasn't fought since? And he's going to get the next title shot. And then obviously, marketing wise, it makes a lot of sense. Even though Jan is probably former champion Peyote Jan is probably more deserving after the 2-fight win streak he's on, beating Figueiredo. But he did, then Luke was like, no, he did worse against Merab. At least O'Malley lost 3-2 on 2 of the judges' scorecards, and at least he was in the fight. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll have to rewatch it because my hindsight is telling me he wasn't. When you look at the division right now, it's not, and I had already heard that this fight would have happened earlier this year, like this month, if in January when he fought Umar, if O'Malley was healthy at that time, and that's what opened the door for Umar. That's the rumor that I had heard. But now with Umar having lost it, and I get they're not going to run that back as a rematch, I guess with the star power, but like, I don't know, like, am I overly excited about this? I mean, the narrative is, let's see if O'Malley can build upon the things he did have success on and try a different strategy, a different angle at trying to slow down this runaway train, Merab. And when I look, I mean, could you have gone Sandhagen here? Is he coming off a win? He's ranked number 4. Jan's 2. So I get why Jan wouldn't get it if it's a debate of Jan versus O'Malley. I get why Umar's not getting it at 3. Number 5 is Figueiredo, who's coming off of a defeat. Number 6 is Song Yadong, who just had a weird win over Cejudo. 7 is Cheeto, who I don't think is in the title picture anymore at all. And Rob Font's lingering after that. Mario Bautista's on a nice run, but people don't love him, it seems. And then you got Aldo, Kyler Phillips, Sahabi, what have you there. Yeah, it is kind of hard. Remix said it right now. It's hard to say who else. but I still don't like it. Yeah, I'm in that same point where I don't love it. I really don't love it. But also when you're looking around, I guess unless it's Sandhagen, what's his current situation? Sometimes, obviously, in these situations, the UFC has already reached out to 2 or 3 fighters and somebody's not ready yet or what have you. There's, obviously there's always things going on, or they didn't like the money offer or whatever the situation. Yes, Sandhagen, fresh off of that loss to Umar Nurmagomedov, which is the 5-round fight, competitive 5-round fight that really pushed Umar up to that title level. That was in August of last year, and he has not fought since. It would be hard to see him going into a title fight coming off of the loss in that spot. No doubt about it. Yeah, it's got to be O'Malley. We figured that out, okay? There it is. There it is. But for Merab, it's a chance to do it all over again. Add a big name twice on there. I mean, I'm cheering for Merab in life. Merab is inspiring. All right. Shout out to Merab and the Jordans. Shout out to She Loves the Gloves over there, Duty. Dick's Insider is here. Insider, I just met her, right? I mean, what are we doing here? Did I miss all the Wevels talk? Yes, you did. So, hit rewind. Yes, on that VHS. Thank you. Oh yeah, Umar did lose. Hold on, I saw another one in there I wanted to post. We Are Live says, BC, can you book Mike Heck for a pregame preview sometime? I would love to, actually. The problem with pregame preview, well, there's no problem. Chuck is great, and we use Chuck more often than not, for sure, and we love Chuck. And he also lives local, and that certainly helps. It's not like we have Showtime's budget these days, but we were able to get Jed here last time. I would not be against Mike Heck at all. Mike Heck, who I think is very good. I think he hosts the crap out of Below the Belt or Between the Links, that Thursday show that they do that I go head to head with Jed sometimes on, and I think that's such a great format. I think he's wonderful in that. His town halls are wonderful, his interviews. But I like Mike Heck, the dude, better even than I like Mike Heck, the entertaining journalist. So shout out to that guy. I'm a big Jed fan too, even though we can spar on camera though. But Jed takes chances. Jed's got balls, and I don't always love his takes. I think sometimes he goes a little too hard in the paint on fighters, but he's willing to go there and he's willing to back it up. He's not willing to use that law degree though, but look where this man is now. There's a lot of really nice guys out there. A lot of beautiful guys. Yeah, thank you, Gennady. Big Jose Young's guy. I like that guy a lot too. And Al Shadi, love that guy. Mike Bone's a solid dude too, Danish Segura. I mean, there's nice guys out in that game. Okamoto, what do you want to bang him? I mean, come on, right? That's it. All right. Two Changs is here. Think we see UFC purchase PFL for a low offer. That's interesting that I never even considered that or thought of that. Obviously, I think they look at PFL as, and it's hard right now not to look at that as the same, even though ultimately, am I cheering for them to succeed? Well, yes, I would like for there to be competition. I would like there to be more opportunities in free agency. I would like somebody to do things a little bit differently, not drastically differently. And on top of that, I like people, some fighters, broadcasters, people behind the scenes. I know people that work at PFL, and I want all that to do good. But I see the tournament rosters being announced, and I'm just like, what are these tournaments? They don't really. They're for 500K, not nothing. And they're good. They're for the promise of a world title shot. Okay, but it's like the same people that are in the same tournaments every. Oh, now we throw in a couple, C-level Bellator people. I'm being harsh, but what does it mean? Nothing. You're not going to have a title defended for like 7 months. There's rumors of a show in Dublin, but then it might be like a European show. Like, I don't know. I don't know how in 2025, by not altering their product enough after seemingly hitting a dead end last year, I don't know how they're going to be able to do enough this year, because even though they just had like the best opening statement they could have made, matchmaking was beautiful, outcome beautiful in Hughes Nurmagomedov. 2 stars were made in one night if Usman wasn't already a hardcore delight star with the famous name. But like, how are we following up on that? Right? Like they didn't have a show for like 2 months after that. They haven't had a show yet. So we're not following up on it at all. Like, I like that they put it out there for free on the internet for sure. But like, we should be talking about when's that rematch going to happen. That they should be fighting for the PFL championship. There shouldn't be a wait. Is the tournament winner a champion? But I thought they gave out belts on the pay-per-view. What are those super fight champ? Like, what is this? It's too much. It's a 25-year expansion in year one for absolutely no reason. Well, I know the reason to create different revenue streams and to do it differently, whatever. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. You actually had some really good talent and name value to try your best at putting together cards that mixed the older names. And I get you're not going to re-sign a Mousasi because his deal's too high from Bellator for you. I get that. But you're the one that bought Bellator. So we could be seeing Mousasi, Pico, Pitbull, put in big fights against whoever the best up-and-coming PFL guys. And there's a good few of them. I mean, when you've got Paul Hughes and Dakota Ditcheva, that's not nothing right now to try to hold firm and say, we've got something to see over here. But they still haven't, after acquiring Bellator, have not taken all of their strengths and put them together and said, this is the punch. This is our puncher's chance. Instead, they're like, no, let me put on the Edward Scissorhand gloves. We got 18 different streams of income and TV coming in for you right here. Oh, and we got Bellator championship belts too sometimes. What do they mean? What are they worth? Nothing. Like, damn. So no, I don't think the UFC would purchase it because they don't see it as a threat. Strikeforce, I don't believe they looked at Strikeforce as a threat to take them over, but I do believe Strikeforce became I don't want to say an annoyance, but like they were there. They were there. They were certainly there for a bit. Even, they were there. They were at the table. And, you could understand buying them and just saying, okay, I'll shut this competition down, bring it's the WWE playbook too, in a lot of ways, But I don't see the momentum right now for PFL. And I'm sure UFC is just like, well, they'll dissolve on their own and we'll just get all their great fighters on the cheap anyway. I hope not. I hope they swing big. I hope we see Francis in a pay-per-view that matters. But it's like when you're rolling out these divisional tournaments and I'm going division by division and I'm like, you have 3 or 4 better fighters at this weight class under your larger roster. So if you're stuck to the tournament model, then make the tournament be the path to crowning your inaugural PFL champions. Expand your division so that Johnny Eblen has something to do, right? In these other weight classes where you didn't have it before. But if you're stuck to the tournament model, and I like that you got rid of regular season and playoffs, it's just, it doesn't work. It doesn't work in MMA. But at the very least, put all of your fighters in the same group, break them up into different weight classes, have the tournament be the path to crowning the inaugural champion. Then that champion begins to defend and the other ones fight each other. You can eventually do what Bellator intelligently did in recent years, which is, oh, we've got a surplus of talent right now in this division. Let's do another tournament. As long as it's short and direct, people like it, and there's a prize at the end. And I never hated that the Bellator tournaments, that the belt could change hands during the tournament. I thought it was interesting. All right. But no, they're not going to buy that. No, they're ready to do TKO takeovers in your city. Okay. That's what I'm saying. That's what they're doing. All right. There you go. Is anyone else saying anything? Let's hear from We Are Live. So when the hell is the first GFL card happening? Yeah. I mean, I have the same things to say about GFL in a different way than I did about PFL, right? It's like, they keep saying, well, we got all these billionaires ready or millionaires ready to buy these franchises. Okay. But like, why do we have to do a franchise system? The cities don't matter. Just take your funnest old guy matchups, try to put together a card of interesting ones. I mean, like Weidman Rockhold 2 is weird and old, but like, okay, let's do it. Those type of fights. Okay. Let's not put people in there with massive brain injuries, but let's creatively do this. Put your best foot forward on the first card. Let's see what you got. Then you can see what worked, what didn't go forward. No, we're going to trade people from different teams day to day. And I don't know. Well, like they're announcing matchups with no dates. And I know that they probably have a plan. But like, do they have a TV deal? Is this going to be air on YouTube like Eagle FC MMA until that money ran out? Somebody once said, and I think it was me, I'm not convinced that any promotion is in a money laundering business at this point. I have no idea, but it's just like, all right. Yeah, we respect Junior Dos Santos in this house. Thank you very much. Okay. Damn. All right. One or two more. What else we got here? Chin? What do you got? Give me Francis and Matt here. Matt here. Can you hear me, Matt? Give me Francis and Big Bang in a boxing match. I would not hate on that. I would not. As long as Francis, like, I don't know. I still don't really know what to make of that Tyson Fury fight now. I can believe Fury was overweight and didn't train and took him lightly and then got hit by a left hook and was like, oh my God, like I do have to keep my reputation and beat this guy, and then went into full defensive holding mode and figured out a way to outwork him and win. But man, Francis looked like an amateur against AJ, and it was a reformed AJ who was going just like, okay, let's go for it. And he went for it and it worked. But I don't know, like, I think you can certainly make Francis versus Wilder, given Wilder's recent history. But what I'm saying is, I don't know if Francis gets KO'd again, I don't know if there's going to be a want or a need. I think he might have one more. Like he's got to win one of these, I mean, the Fury fight was a win and a defeat for sure. But I mean, it's weird because, if you're advising Francis, you're saying, dude, go take the money in boxing. Like you can live out your dream. Like for all we know, maybe he knocks Wilder out. Maybe he knocks Big Bang out. Not, like who knows? And you get it, but that's a rough spot for the PFL, man. That they're thinking, okay, we'll probably get him once. So what are we going to do? We're going to go Nemkov. Like, I don't hate that fight, but like, it's kind of hard to use that asset you have, in a division that's not deep, just like your other big asset is Jake Paul, and he's not going to fight for you. I get like using him in spots, to try to sell it. Yeah, you have to, him at press conferences is a smart move. But what does it really matter if he's not fighting? I don't know. I don't mean to be Debbie Downer on anything that's not working. I want people to go after it and give it a try. It's just, yeah. Okay. Interesting question from Brantendo 64. My guy over there are you in Cali right now, Brantendo? I don't know. All right. You enjoy MMA while in the eighth row. I've been known to sit there. Yes. Brantendo says, I hit the bong before Holloway Cater, and it made me think about the pain of each strike. Almost quit watching forever. Oh yeah. No, it makes me think less about the pain and the sadness of what I'm actually watching. No, it's prize fighting. I've come to terms with that. Yeah, I've consumed a fight night or two, under these circumstances, but thank you, Brantendo. I get what you're saying. It just didn't happen to me. It didn't. All right. Facts. There we go, Dixon. Thank you. Also, let me close with this from Signature Sounds. Thank you for supporting here, dude. Thank you, man. Really nice people here. I appreciate that from you. I was also on some dude's George Zapata's boxing podcast yesterday. What a great guy. What a good dude, man. I'm happy to see good people out there in combat sports. Congrats on another PBC gig, BC. Thank you. Thank you very much. Living the dream. All right. One pay-per-view at a time. Also, not the ideal fill-in, but 50K Ige isn't a terrible style matchup for. Okay, you know what? I wouldn't hate this. I know a lot of people, by the way, wanted Gian Silva, the Lord. They wanted Lord Silva there, but he's a featherweight. Okay, like yes, it could be a breakthrough moment for him, but you really also could be setting him back in a big way. He's crazy enough. He'd take it. This guy's a firecracker. May end in KO either way. Yeah, remember when I used to question Ige's power and thought that he was limited and more of it? Yeah, I was wrong. That guy started sitting down on punches and get people the hell out of there. Ige's very good. If they went that way, it wouldn't be my ideal pick. You know what? I've talked myself into Moicano. It happened. Signature Sound. So, I mean, it is a pay-per-view co-main event. That used to mean something, didn't it? That used to mean something. All right. Junto Nakatani is the new Big Bang. Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay if he just picked up that nickname where Jean Jolet left off, because it's so hilarious. But no, they're from different countries, different weight classes considerably as well. Brantendo saying, if America colonizes Canada, who will be at the top of BC's greatest American fighter list? John Jones or Jasmine Jazz Devises? Definitely the John Jones is the number one pound for pound is the answer, Dana. Indeed. But shout out to Jasmine Jazz Devises with the Lithuanian name. She is getting after it lately and going for it. She's going for it at the moment. Did you see it? Did she decide for Jessica Andrade? That is an interesting fight. That's an interesting fight. So good for her in that regard. Yeah, let's see if Canada's the 51st state. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen in life. I don't know. All right. So Reggie is recovering. I think my wife left to get him. So I'm going to shut this thing down so we can nurse the Reg and see how we're doing. Thank you for showing the love and for caring. Lazybed says, thank you for the love on Reggie. Have you both on Just? Yeah, let's go. How about we do this? How about you get me on Just Bleed? Is this a podcast or is this a video thing? Whatever. All right. I'm wearing nothing from the pants down anyway, right? Obviously. But yeah, let's do it. Okay. Let's spread the love. I do like, dropping in on the main card minute in the chat when seeing a lot of you locals there as well. So awesome that you guys support Long Island Luke and Luke Thomas as well, who, Luke Thomas been at this game a long time. All right. He's doing a great job. So there you go. You are right. We are a lot. Lord Silva is the second coming of the axe murderer. He sends everybody to hell. Like, who knows if he'll, I mean, that's a big name to compare to, but he's got a different kind of energy and explosiveness. So that's the end of today's ramble. Thank you for joining. I hope you are doing well, and I hope you're doing well up here. Okay. I'm not a doctor. I can't prescribe you anything on what to do, but this winter was really hard. I did up my dose, and it changed me in the best way possible. I feel a lot more freer on this here journey. I'm always afraid of doing something like that. It's gonna mute what I'm about, but no, it's just made me feel whole for the first time in a while. So happy to report that. Hope you guys are doing well in your journey. Everybody's different, but don't be afraid to seek help. Don't be afraid to talk to people. All right, take care of yourself. There we go. Reggie will be nursing. I'll be in Brooklyn this weekend. Check me out Saturday night. I think there's the free, you don't even have to be a subscriber. If you go to Prime Video, there's the undercard. I think Jarrett Hurd is in the featured fight. I believe I'll be calling that as well with Mauro Ranallo. Last time we had Sugar Hill Stewart. I think he might be coming back this time. So check that out if you don't buy the pay-per-view. But that's it. We're out of here. You can do this. You can get through anything in life. All right. You got to bite down sometimes for sure. But you do have to remember, this is what my therapist tells me. You are undefeated up to this point in surviving every awful thing that's happened to you, right? You know what I mean? You're going to survive this one too. All right. Let's get after it. Thank you so much. We're out of here. All right.